The next thing is this hold button. So if your note information is not as long as this is that I have here, so let's shorten this up for a moment. So now the arpeggiator, if we just put it back on up mode, it would stop right away. But if you press hold, it will hold the notes. Okay, so this is just in case you don't wanna, you have something recorded very shortly, then you can use this just to boost your workflow and you don't have to drag all the notes very long and do all this exhausting work. Just joking. So let's just hit legato here and it will drag the notes until the end. This is pretty easy. Alright, the offset knob is controlling whether the arpeggiator is starting on your root note or on the first note that it's playing. So in the up mode it would be the C, and if you put it on the 1, then it would be one step high. It would start one step higher, so it would start on the E, and if you put it to 2 it would start on the G. So let's just decrease the rate a little bit so we can hear it more clearly. Bum, bum, bum. So you hear it's starting on the highest note, and if we're putting it to 1, bum, 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 then it's starting on the second highest note. So this is just stuff you can play around with. And we can make a little experiment here. We will disable the sync now, and I will show you a little trick. For this trick, you will have to use your internet connection, and you just go to a homepage that is called Convert BPM to Milliseconds, and now you just type in your tempo here. We are currently at 120 BPM, which is fine. And now you can see all those different beat divisions here, which means 1/8 notes will be 250 milliseconds, a triplet eighth notes will be 167 milliseconds, and so on. So we can just go back into our Ableton and put this to 250 milliseconds. So now it should lay 8 notes which are in the groove with our tempo. Perfect. It's working out. So for now I will just create a new MIDI channel, insert a kick. So let's go over to the PML packs. There are some pretty cool kicks in the Premium Volume 6 from Stereo Voltage. They're really good. I love them. I use them in my live sets a lot. This one especially. This one is the one I'm using there all the time. So let's just create a kick drum that's just playing on every quarter. Drag the volume down. Okay, now we can disable the metronome. Actually, it was pretty cool with a little bit more click. Well. And now let's get back to our trick. Now we have our milliseconds time. So now we know that 250 milliseconds equals an 8th note, which is in sync with our track. So now we can right click here and go to show automation. Let's just open this up a little bit more. And now we can automate the rate of the arpeggio. So it will start somewhere off, or we could even start on like a 16th or a 1/64th note. And then it will increase or decrease the rate. And then it will sync exactly in the time when we need it to sync. And that's pretty cool. I will show you how it sounds like. So let's say we want to get back to the straight 8th rhythm on the beginning of the 3rd quarter. You can enable, like you can switch the automation mode on and off by just clicking A. It's pretty easy, so you don't have to click here all the time. Cool. Okay, so let's say we want to be on our 8th notes, on our straight 8th notes, back again at the 3rd quarter note, which would be here. You can see it here, 1.3. So we just go to our automation mode and let's drag down the rate from our arpeggio. So now it starts really fast and then it gets back into the right grid at the time we decided to. And this is something pretty cool. Have a listen. Oops, I have to start in the beginning. Okay, so and now you can restart here again and you can make some pretty cool, like, I don't know if it's flumish, but it's like somehow like flowerish, like, you know? So let's just, if you hit Option, you can drag this curve to make it more concave and convex. And let's try both directions. We could even get slower, so let's take, I click edit value, let's take 500 here, which equals a quarter note. Maybe we don't start that fast. So, and this is something you can hear in a lot of tracks at the moment, especially also in like the more like techno-ish realms of electronic music. You have like this big lead like brrrng, dong, 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 brrrng, dong, 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 dong. So we could even, you know, just go down here. Sometimes it's very on and sometimes it's very off. Start at the beginning. Maybe we can get a little bit faster here. Okay, so this is not making too much sense because we don't have any more melodic and harmonic information here, but it's something worth playing around with. So let's get back to our arpeggiator and continue with the basic settings. I will just delete this automation for now. Let's get back to our sync rate. And now we will continue with this section here with the transpose section. So now our arpeggiator is just arpeggiating 3 notes again and again. C, E, G all the time. No higher octave, nothing. So now let's have a look at this section here, the transpose section. This means that at the moment, currently the ARP is just arpeggiating C, E, and G all the time. And that's cool, but it's also a little bit boring. So if you increase the step number here for 1, it will repeat the whole section. So C, E, and G again in a higher octave, 1 octave higher. So let's have a listen. Okay, if you put 2, it will octavate it in 2 octaves, in 3, and so on, and so on, and so on. And now if we do it a little bit, increase the rate a little bit. And if we do that with the rate automation, it could be very interesting actually. Let's just increase the rate a little bit more. Very bubbly. Let's just close down the frequency, filter frequency for a moment. Already sounds pretty cool. Okay, those are the steps, but we haven't talked about the distance here. So let's have a look at the distance section. Distance just means that it will play the octaves exactly 12 semitones above the root note that it's getting fed into the arpeggiator, which means it will play exactly the octave above the note, in this case you fed into the arpeggiator. If you change this parameter, with chords it's not making so much sense because, you know, inside your scale, your notes will not, like, you will not have a major chord, exactly the same major chord on the, I don't know, 4th degree or on the 6th degree of your scale. So this distance knob, you should use it with more simple notes, so like with 5th or even just with 1 note. Okay, so I will just demonstrate you what it will do. So let's go with steps like one octave above it, and then let's play with the distance a little bit. So let's put it to 11, or first let's again listen with 12 semitones, which equals an octave. Let's go to 10. Just switching through there a little bit. So it gets sometimes gets a little bit weird there. Okay, so let's have a look at the velocity right here. So if you turn that on, I think it's a little bit confusing, the naming velocity there. I mean, it is the velocity, but this just means that the target down here, 64, means a velocity of 64, which is like the half of the scale of velocities. You have like 128 steps in velocity, and 64 is the half of that. So if you put that to 0, it means no velocity, it means no sound. So what you can do with this is very interesting. So now you can set with the decay time here, you can set the decay time for your arpeggiator. So now the arpeggiator will only work for 1 second. And then we'll stop. So if you decrease the second here, we'll just do it very slowly, like just 148 milliseconds. If you increase it, it will be a little bit longer. And this can be pretty interesting for a couple of things. So if we go into our MIDI notes here in our piano roll, just take those, and let's just take the C major again. And then we just take like another chord out of the C major scale. So let's take the A minor, and I just have to move the G to the A here. And we'll just take another chord. So let's take the F major, which I can achieve by just transposing the E to the F. And now we have F, A, and the C here. So it's the second inversion of the F major. If you're struggling with that, I recommend you to take a little bit of piano classes. It really helps out. Okay, so let's have a look here and a listen. Okay, so now you're saying, okay, maybe it's a little bit short, so let's increase this decay time here. Let's maybe increase the rate a little bit. And if we go to 3, maybe we can just play with that a little bit. Alright, so now you can see how you can work with this. So let's set those settings back again to where we have been before we were taking care of the velocity. Let's just double click here to go to our basic sections. So far so good. So let's have a look at the last section of our arpeggiator here. So this is the retrigger mode, and retrigger means it just the arpeggiator gets retriggered. So it will just get activated again at a certain point. So if we put this to beat mode, this means after one beat, this means after 1 bar, 4 quarter notes, it will start again. So if we have a listen, now it started again. If we put this to 1/2, it will start the whole arpeggiator again after a half bar. Dun, dun. And with repeats, now it's set to infinite. So as long as there is MIDI information coming in, it will repeat in this style. If you say, I just wanted to repeat it in this style 2 times or 3 times or whatever you dial in, this is how you make it possible. Note means that the retrigger will be triggered by the note information that's coming into the arpeggiator. So every time a new note is hit coming in, it will trigger this retrigger mode. And now there's only the half bar is deactivated because we don't have the time that is retriggering. We have the note that is retriggering. And now we can only dial in the repeats here. So every time a note will hit, the arpeggiator would repeat after like 2 times, for example. I actually never used this function. I think it's a little bit too complicated and not boosting my personal workflow, but this is how it works. All right, so the last section we have to have a look at is the groove section here. So now we have straight notes. So there's no groove, and you know, groove means that the notes that are slightly off the grid, like if humans would play it, they, in the best case, they are on the beat, and this is something, of course, we should all be able to do. But some people, they can groove and they can just drag some notes to the front or delay some notes to the back. Okay, so if we go and select the swing 8 mode here, let's have a listen. So now it's delaying the second note to the back. And those are just different swing times for different groove sections. So if you have the rate of 16th, you would choose the swing of 16th. I'm personally not working with them a lot, but it's something worth checking out. All right, so this was the basic introduction into the Ableton Arpeggiator. I hope I could bring some light into the darkness, and if not, please write us. We're always there to help you, of course. And there are a couple of things and a couple of cool play-arounds that I showed you that you can use for your own productions, especially the one with the rate. Check that out.